Hi guys, Olive here. Today I would like to do a casual chatty type video in which I would like to discuss with you how I find that reading helps me as an INTJ personality type. If you don't know what I mean when I say INTJ, I'm talking about the Myers-Briggs personality assessment. It is a pretty popular personality assessment tool, particularly here on the internet. I'm going to give it a very brief overview since it is so popular and since I have other things to discuss in this video. But if you would like a more in-depth video and a video that discusses the pros and cons of the Myers-Briggs system, I will link to Katie from Chapter Stacks, her video on the Myers-Briggs personality assessment. Even if you are familiar with Myers-Briggs, I would still recommend checking out that video if you haven't in the past. It is a very good source of information. To put it very simply, the Myers-Briggs personality assessment has 4 different learning styles, thinking patterns that sit on a spectrum. The first spectrum is your favorite world, so introversion versus extroversion. The second spectrum is how you process information, so are you more of a sensing type or are you more intuitive? The third spectrum is how you make decisions. Do you make them based off of thinking or feeling? And the last spectrum is based off of how you build structure. Are you a judging type or a perceiving type? Each of these spectrums has a letter assigned to the opposite ends of the spectrum. And when you take the Myers-Briggs, whichever side you edge more toward or whichever side is more dominant for you, that's the letter you will be assigned for that spectrum. As I've already stated, I am an INTJ personality. Introverted, intuitive, thinking, judging. The INTJ personality type is often labeled the architect, the scientist, the mastermind. We are a pretty rare personality type, particularly for women, but we seem to be in a higher concentration on the internet. My guess is because it's a hub for knowledge. The best way I can describe what being an INTJ is basically like you're a human computer. That is to say that we are extremely logical people, that we value order and reason above all else. And while most people value these things, I would say that we take it to a different level. Things need to make sense. Decisions must be fully thought through, and emotions need to firmly take a back seat. We tend to not value tradition. Why do the same thing over and over again when you could reevaluate and maximize potential? We are hard workers, but we do not expend energy needlessly. If nothing can be achieved here, then what's the point? And small talk does very little for us. If this conversation is not stimulating my brain, I really don't want to have it. You know when you are an INTJ. It is a very robotic way of thinking. My husband affectionately calls me a robot due to my desire to maximize efficiency and productivity at all times. My friend Steve Donahue spent one weekend with me and by the end of it was calling me a Vulcan with better fashion sense. Accurate. Most of the time, I really like how my brain works. I get a lot accomplished and I generally have my shit together. But there are a lot of times, particularly when I'm trying to interact with other humans, that I find my way of thinking extremely limiting. Dealing with other people is something that I have had to work very hard on and continue to have to work on. It is especially hard for me to be as empathetic as I want to be because I have a particularly hard time understanding feelings that I have never had before. I feel like being an INTJ in many ways limits my experience of the world because everything is so boiled down to logic and structure and systems. Lots of the beauty and the art of this world is lost when you strip it down to those essentials. This is where reading adds so much to my life. Not only does it play to the strengths of being an INTJ, but it really helps me address my weaknesses. Reading helps me understand the thoughts, the feelings, the experiences of others in the form of fiction. I, of course, don't feel and experience everything that the characters do, but to have their feelings and their mindset explained to me, to have a chance to put myself in their shoes, provides basically an emotional education for me, since that is not the dominant part of my personality. It also helps to expose me to situations, places, and feelings that I didn't even know existed. I find it hard as an INTJ to be creative, and so it would be hard for me to put myself in these situations if fiction wasn't helping me do it. I think in these ways that reading helps all of us, but I think it's particularly helpful for me as an INTJ when my world can very frequently be reduced to a little box. Basically, for me, reading is both mind expanding and world expanding. Because of my personality, I seek knowledge, I seek information. I love reading nonfiction, as you know. Reading quenches the thirst for knowledge that I have to learn more about the world and everything within it. It helps my brain become the walking encyclopedia that it so desperately wants to be. So reading definitely does play to my natural strengths, but what I value most about it is that it helps me address those parts of my personality that I can't really help, but I know are there. While I know it will always be a struggle for me to understand other people's emotions, I can tell, even over the past 2 years, that I have gotten better with understanding where other people are coming from. And of course, being an INTJ, I constantly want to be progressing. I constantly want to be bettering myself. So addressing my weaknesses is actually playing to a strength. So that was really all I wanted to talk about today. I just thought it was really interesting and something that I've been noticing since I've been reading more and more over the years. If you would like to talk to me about anything that I've mentioned in this video or about anything in general, you can put it in the comment section down below. Or I'm on a variety of different places on social media, and the links to all of my profiles are in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.